I'm Bryana Salaz. I am a singer, musician, actress, writer, all the things.
What came first?
Music came first. I started singing when I was 12 years old, and then I got into theater, little theater kid, and decided to take acting seriously as well, and I got really lucky coming out here, and so now acting is like my full-time job, but music remains my passion.
Does one inspire the other?
Absolutely. In both places, I get to tell stories, and it's very interesting because in acting, I get to tap into things in my real life, to help portray and be believable in certain characters, but I also get to, play around and have fun in being something else, whereas music is a lot scarier because that is as vulnerable as one can get, and I'm, sharing a part of myself, and I always say, if someone doesn't like my show, that's fine, because it's not like they don't like me, and I'm like, but if someone doesn't like my music, that feels a little personal.
Totally. But you're obviously playing a character when you're acting, that is, something different, but when you're a musician, do you feel like you are true to yourself as a musician, or do you also have, this is my stage presence, I feel
That's a really
as a
good
different person?
When it comes to music, I don't feel like I'm ever playing a role. There might be times where if I'm writing, especially if I'm writing for somebody else, and it's not something that is necessarily me and the type of music that I would put out, I am tapping into a different version of myself, but in every aspect of music, it's always a version of me. And so even if I feel like I'm playing a little more to this kind of voice, or sometimes I even do what I'll say is character voices in my songs, and a big inspiration for that is Lana Del Rey. I love how she goes back and forth from these little character voices to a very sultry, sexy Lana Del Rey-esque thing, and no matter what though, it's always a very raw version of myself, and I'm pulling inspiration from people who have inspired me and people who I look up to, and again, that's as real as it can get, and that's why I love music a lot.
Mm-hmm. And Lana obviously is an inspiration, but what else kind of inspires you?
I've pulled, so when I first started singing, my biggest inspiration was Whitney Houston, and I just loved everything about her vocals. That has to be one of the greatest vocalists of all time, and she was just someone that I wanted to emulate. And then I kind of started listening to a little bit of rock, like Heart. I loved the old school things. My dad raised me on old school, and so anything that I look up to, it's usually coming from 80s, 70s time frame, and it's really cool to see how music has evolved so much to where that is cool now, especially these styles of music, and it's really neat to go back in time and be able to pull from those influences again, and it's just really, the evolution of it all is really freaking awesome. And I mean, the thing with inspirations, I pull from so many people. I love so many things. I mean, even K-pop. You would never put Whitney Houston and K-pop in the same room, but for some reason, for me, it works, and that's where I'm pulling, different things. I learn from everyone and everything that I can.
That's awesome. My dad also did the same thing.
Right. It's literally, I'm
And then I also love how some of those songs are just singing sad lyrics to the happiest of beats.
Oh, absolutely. When you really pull it back, it's whoa, this is actually, whatever, I'm not gonna think about that. I'm just gonna have fun.
Well, can you walk us through kind of the songs that you just created in there? I mean, they're not, I know that some of them were maybe outside of genres that you've been working on in the past, but just how can you kind of shift between the two? You hear a beat, what's your immediate kind of process to writing the songs, just in general, and then, throughout different genres?
Yeah, I kind of, for me, when it comes to a songwriting process, I always go into the room very open-minded, because whether we're writing something from scratch and we're making the music literally from scratch, or someone's presenting me beats and I kind of just pull what sticks out to me. And the first song that we did, that was had more of an Afro beat to it, and I haven't tapped into that in a long time, and that's one of the first styles that I actually started, because I did a lot of being Hispanic, I did a lot of reggaeton, and I haven't done that in a really long time, and it kind of just clicked for me. And when I heard it, I literally felt like the song was almost on a loop. It had this repetitive beat to it, this doom doom doom, and it would come in threes every few measures, and I was just like, oh my god, this is like cool, it's stuck on a loop. And next thing I knew, that was like the lyric. It was like, ooh, stuck on a loop. And again, like when it comes to writing, it's just like pulling from experiences. I'm in a very happy relationship, which is really freaking awesome. But, you know, we've had our ups and downs, and so I'm able to pull a lot from those experiences. And especially when you've been with someone in an on and off way, that's kind of like what that felt like, was just like this push and pull and this like cycle of like, okay, how do we make it work? Are we gonna make it work kind of thing? And that's just kind of how that one flowed out. And then the second one, when I heard the second beat, it was immediately just like such a cute sound to me, and it reminded me so much of some of the like K-pop groups that I've listened to. And one of my favorite things about K-pop is the melodies and how they almost are never repetitive, and except for the chorus. And I haven't written like a bubblegum pop song in a really long time, and I think there's such an art to having what can come off as like really simple lyrics, but I think if it's done in a tasteful way, you know, then it's like, I don't know, it's something completely different. And that's another thing that I love. Like, one of my favorite artists, Girl in Red, who, like, one of my favorite songs is They're So Pretty, It Hurts, I'm not talking about boys, I'm talking about girls. It's like, those are the simplest lyrics, and so you're like, who would write the simplest? But no one else is doing that. She is, you know. So I think there's a lot of power in simplicity, and I got really excited to just kind of like, I keep calling it adorable and doing this. I keep doing this every single time I talk about it.
I love it. In terms of like, you write very fast. I mean, you just cranked out 2 songs in a little time. If you're going between writing and acting, I'm assuming that writing takes a lot of repetition. It's like sport, like you kind of have to keep practicing it. When you're shifting between the gears, is it hard to come back to writing, or are you just constantly like, no, I just have a lot to say? And
yeah, when it comes to shifting between acting and writing, I mean, I just think that music has always been such a part of me, and that's my outlet, and that's how I express myself. And, you know, writing in my journal and all of that, like getting my feelings out on paper, it almost just comes to me in like phrases and in like stanzas, I guess you could say, even. And it's like, after honestly a long day on set, and like especially if it's a hard day, brutal day, the first thing I do is go home and write about it. I pick up my guitar and I write about it. And anytime I'm feeling any sort of emotion, especially if it's a foreign emotion, I always write about it. And so I guess they're so, for me, intertwined, and they help each other out so much that, I mean, I think because of a lot of my acting experiences and the things I've seen and the things I've been able to do, I'm very lucky and blessed, I'm able to articulate it through music, and that's like the only way I know how to articulate myself.
And what is next for you, both music and acting, or just any other projects that are on the horizon? What can people look forward to?
Well, the cool thing about doing both is that, like, I kind of have the freedom to... I've been, again, very lucky in my acting journey, and have had the freedom right now to kind of decide what kind of projects I want to do moving forward. And with that, it's allowed me time to really sit with my music. And if it wasn't for like that time that I took, I probably would have been releasing music that didn't feel true to me. And so now, honestly, I'm just kind of figuring out what's next. And I think that's the beauty of being in this like artistic world, is that there's no pressure to, you know, make it happen right away. I've always said there's no rush when it comes to me and like my creativity. I want it to be very honest and raw. And I've put out one song, and now I'm really excited to share more. I think that's probably my next goal, is just to keep putting music out, and whatever happens I always say, whatever happens on the acting side, awesome, I'll be there. But music, I'm really excited to start like sharing a part of me that I haven't shared.
Perfect.
Woohoo!
That was
Thank you
really
so
good.
much.
Sorry, I'm a yapper.
Great. You're like a great